can start. Thanks.
Thanks, Abid Bhai, and thanks everyone for joining this. Like, I think Abid Bhai called me around a week back and asked me if I can take this session, and I told him that I will mainly be focusing around the learnings which I have, what I have seen people doing around me, and people doing who have joined after me in this field, so that I can share with the second year, third year folks in AMU, and they can use those learnings, and as they are trying to think to do to decide on what they want to do post their BTech, they can be more proactive and start thinking from today itself if they want to join, if they want to take data science or data analytics as a career option, what all things they should keep in mind from a career perspective, and also what are the things which the current organizations or companies which are hiring for these kind of roles are looking for candidates in candidates, so that it's a better match for them. So like next 40-45 minutes I will try to cover those things. I've created a rough presentation, so just apologies that that presentation was created within an hour, so it's not a well formatted one. The idea for that presentation is for me only, that I can keep the pointers connected from one slide to another, and I can create a story out of it. But I think I hope I do justice to my bad formatting skills in the words I say during the course of next 1 hour. So like it will be it's a 12 slider which I will walk you through. I will start from my background, like how I, being a non-comp engineering student and did an MBA, ended up in data science and analytics as a field, uh, so that you get an idea like how how different things you do in the past get connected to each other, and help you in your career from long term perspective also. Plus I will walk you through things which you should keep in mind, or which you should develop or inculcate in next 2-3 years when you are part of your undergrad course, and go for those opportunities and get all those exposures and experiences as part of your resume or CV, or your order profile, so that you are, once you pass out or you come in final year of your engineering, you have all those things on your profile, and that can be a, a nudge for you to being cited by different recruiters when they are profiling different resumes. So that's the idea. I'll start with sharing my screen, and like I might be again and again seeing towards the right because I'm logged in from my iPad, and usually iPad has the camera on the left. So that's the reason I'm always. But I'll stop my screen. I'll just share the uh, deck, and let me know if anyone is not able to see it. Is everyone able to see the screen? My presentation.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me put it on present mode. Present on this device. So yeah, so the agenda of this whole session is how to build a career in data science and analytics, and what all to do to have those points on your profile, and what all things from both a hard skills perspective as well as soft skills perspective you need to develop, so that you stand out among everyone else. So like I'll start with a brief background that how I ended up in this field. So as Abid Bhai told, that I did my engineering in electrical from like in 2010 from AMU. I worked for Accenture for a year, and then I got into IIM Indore. From IIM Indore, I got placed in a consulting firm which is called Cognizant Business Consultant, and I was there for 14-15 months as a consultant, uh, where I used to provide consulting services to different organizations in banking and financial service sector. Uh, what what I so personally, and it can vary from person to person. Personally, what I didn't like about consulting is it's more about it's more about sales, and how you put your deck together, and how you make your client get influenced with your idea. from the words you say. Like I found it like it's not something which I'm doing on the grounds work or like something which I'm doing on my own rather than just presenting things to my client so that the client gets so that I get a buy-in from the client and that gets into a project for the company. So that that after a month or after a year or so, I started evaluating things what I wanted to do next, and I started applying in some of the companies which were, and I realized that analytics is something which seems to be becoming a big industry for India as a country, just because we have a big IT and software engineering industry already, and data science is something which also can be offshored and can be done remotely. Because it's closely related to software engineering, a bit towards software engineering, and that's why companies hire more of computer engineer folks as well into these kind of roles. I decided to go into it and try to explore what all companies are hiring for it. And one of the companies which gave me a call and at that time was trying to expand its team in India in Gurgaon was American Express, which is a credit card company. Although it's in India also, but yeah, it's a big thing in US. And from there, I started to get, and before that, I did some courses on Coursera around R and statistics and all, so that I get some understanding what it is, and so that I can have some talking points during the course of my interview. And also, if I can link some of the courses which I've done during my engineering or during my post grad to analytics, which are always a case. For example, I did some coding courses during my engineering, which is a requirement for being an analytics. I did some courses on uh, statistics and everything during my MBA, which are needed. And I will tell you in future how those things should be everyone should be aware of if they want to create a career in this area. So like those were the things which I prepared for, and and now if I go back and realize, I think I could have if I had thought through much before, I could have done more better in terms of uh, the learnings which I have had when I got into American Express, and be more educated about what things I'm getting into. So that's what I want to make sure that people who want to get into data science analytics, they know beforehand that what they will be getting into, and what are some of the prerequisites they should meet in order to achieve that stage. So yeah, so that was the entry point. American Express was the entry point for me for getting into the area of data science and analytics. What team I was part of was there's something called as performance marketing, and if you Google, it's a big thing nowadays that all the big companies like Google, American Express, and Facebook, they do performance marketing. So, for example, if you open your Facebook page and you see an ad which is bit relevant to what your preferences and choices I have been, that is what performance marketing is. So, and that's what I was doing in American Express as one of the first teams I worked for. What we used to do, we used to leverage the American Express transaction history data. So any customer who has an American Express card, American Express gets to know what he's buying or he or she is buying and where they are spending, what are their choices, what are their uh, levels in terms of the kind of things they want to buy, whether it's luxurious items or whether those are other kind of things. So you leveraging those kind of things, you are helping different retail stores in US to better target their customers. So it was a match of the American Express data, which was aggregated at some level, plus a client like, let's say, Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Target or Costco, like which we used to like target and like help them target better in their marketing initiatives. And that's what Facebook also does. They leverage your likes, your comments and everything, what brands you follow and what things you do on Facebook profile to help those different brands better target you and show the relevant ads so that you click on that and it converts into a customer or it converts into purchase for the client. Uh, so that was the first team. Second team which I worked for was B2b Marketing, which was basically targeting different. So, for example, if you buy a credit card, you will be a B2C customer from American Express. But let's say American Express has a tie-up with a company, let's say Uber, and Uber's employee want to own credit cards. So that's kind of B2B relationship. So I was creating machine learning models to better target B2B customers there. So after 3 years over there, I moved to Amazon, which where I was part of Amazon Business Big Data team. So the usual Amazon.com website which you buy from is B2C website. That is basically for individual customers. But even from Amazon, big companies like General Electric, Philips, like order their raw materials, some part equipments. And for that, Amazon has a separate unit which is called as Amazon Business. So there I was part of big data team and worked as a data scientist. And now currently for the last 2 years, I've been working as a senior manager regional analytics for Uber. And what we do is within Uber, like if you know, like Uber, one is the rides business, which is the taxi and everything. The second is the Eats business, which is delivering food. Although it's not no more existent in India, but they have a regional team based out of Gurgaon that does analytics for all the Asia Pacific region, which includes Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Sri Lanka. So wherever in a pack Uber Eats as a business is active, we provide the analytics and data science support for different business team currently operating in those countries. Cool. Any questions? Like, feel free to ask any questions in between, or we can keep it at the end as well. But let me know if you have any questions. So that's my background, and that's how just to tell how I ended up and what I did to be into analytics. Next few slides will be all about what you should do if you want to pursue this as a career, and what are things are there in open sources which you can look for just to build your profile. So I think these numbers are they're somewhat dated. I just picked it from Google. So it's for, I think, 2018, 2017 numbers when Indian big data market was 2 billion. But at that time, the forecast was 2000, by 2022, we'll be 16 billion. So as the market increases, the indicator is more jobs in this area will come. So like that means more people can who have those skill sets with them can apply for those jobs, and be part of this field of data science and big data analytics. And like it's like something very busy. Like any article you search for, they always see like why data scientist is the hottest job in the industry or in the tech industry. You can read on Google multiple articles. So like just to show you what potential this area has grown into, and the potential we have, we see. I see that in future as well, that because more and more things we are moving towards digital, more and more things, and especially after COVID, where people are ordering all online, and they are like trying to do everything from the mobile or from their laptops. There's so much of digital data which is getting stored. So the amount of data is increasing every year, and so there are things which are lying in those data which needs to be analyzed on, and do something insightful or strategically right for the organizations. How that data can be leveraged, we need people who have strong skills in these areas, and data scientists or data analysts are the people which companies are looking for. Cool. So, I'm not sure. I think many of you would have seen this. That what is data science all about, and what all comprises, what all things you should know if you want to be a data scientist. So, like there are three circles. If you see, one is computer science aspect of things. Second is maths and statistic, and third is domain or business knowledge. So, if you see the top green intersection of maths and computer science, that's called machine learning. So you use maths to create and leverage Python or Java or any other programming language, which is part of computer science, to come up with algorithms that can improve efficiency of anything you want to do. So that's what machine learning is, and you can automate that process, and that process keeps on running by itself. Uh, The third, the if you see the intersection of domain or computer science is software engineering or software development, which most of you would be aware of. For example, if you're working for Amazon.com, what domain you are in? You are in e-commerce as a domain. You leverage your computer science skills to come to create services or APIs or front ends or back ends to using software engineering, so that you can act as a platform for everyone to buy or sell things. Uh, Third, if you see, is maths and domain intersection, which is traditional research, which is basically data analysis or advanced data analysis. So you use maths or statistics to analyze the data and use your domain or business knowledge to come up with something which is right for the business. So if you combine everything in this an area which is at the intersection of all three aspects of computer science, maths, and statistics, and your domain knowledge, it's what data science is. So if you want to be a data scientist, you need to develop yourself in all these three areas, which is first computer science, second maths and statistics, and third domain or business knowledge. And I'll deep dive in each of them more in the next few slides, but I would like to stop and ask if anyone has any questions. Because this is very important, and it's like something which I want to set at start of this so that you understand the future slides as well.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, sir. So there's one question from me. What made you do an MBA, and what was your major reason behind this decision?
Yeah, so I wanted to do MBA because, like, although I was gold medalist for my electrical engineering batch, but I was always inclined. I started preparing for CAT after third year itself, and the first attempt I couldn't get through, but the next attempt I got calls from few of the IMs and got through it. The reason I wanted to do MBA was I wanted to be in more of a leadership roles and develop more of a leader in the area of business only. And being in data science, I feel I am able to do that because I'm leading a team of few analysts. Plus, I'm working closely with the business because if you see, right, data science includes business knowledge as well, and you should know your. And I will tell you what you should know as part of business to that whatever you do as part of data science, if you are in a corporate world, that has to be linked with somehow with the top line and bottom line. By top line and bottom line, I mean revenue or the profits. So those two reasons were there. Were the reasons why I wanted to do MBA and how I ended up in current role. How that matches with what I'm doing in my current role.
Thank you, sir.
So, Gabay, I had a question.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, tell me.
Actually, I am doing business. I am doing data analytics plus business analytics currently, and I am employed with few internships. But the question is now I want to go towards data science. So
Okay.
I got to read few articles that said that you need to know ML for that.
Yeah.
So to start ML, do I need a prior knowledge of any data structures and algorithms, or can I directly start ML?
I will answer to that in the next slides.
Okay.
Yeah. Just keep your question with yourself as of now, but yeah, mostly you'll get an answer. What's your name?
My name is Harshit Agarwal.
Okay, I will ask you at the end of the presentation, did you get clarity or not?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I had a doubt during your engineering, what were the particular things you focused on to get into this field? Whether it included cloud engineering skills or it was just related to the DB and all.
So personally, if I would answer for myself, I would say I was lucky that I got into this field without being so knowledgeable about all these things about cloud computing and all. When I entered in 2014 in this area, but what things you should know, I will cover in the next slides. That I'll cover. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing, uh, like uh, you entered into MBA, right? So as far as I have researched on the path one follow is either you become a DBA or a system engineer, and then you go on to architect. So for that, I like whatever I researched, I think that no business knowledge is required at that particular instance because we are dealing with
Yeah,
markets.
yeah. So, like, I think that that's a misconception that you don't require business knowledge. I feel the organization you are working for,
Yeah.
you should understand like what's the goal and objective of that organization, and lot of things you do hands on. You should, if you don't understand what you are working for, you will not get an idea how it's connecting to the business objective. So anything you do is always in an organization is always linked to any business objective which a larger organization wants to meet. So even if it's a software engineer or even if it's a data engineer, uh, it's always linked to what the organization's goal is. So, for example, if a software engineer is building a front end for Amazon.com, let's say, then he knows he's trying to set up something for the company as a platform that helps everyone to buy and sell things. If a data engineer is working on creating a database of all the data set, all the things that it can extract from the customers who are buying, the objective is to basically how this data can be leveraged in future for the business goals. So it's not. I don't see a stage where uh, like it's not linked to data like business knowledge or domain knowledge. Yeah, until unless you are into research mode where which I am seeing. For example, if you're a machine learning algorithm creator who just focuses on creating algorithms for machine learning, that way I think you might not require that much of knowledge. You may be a computer science techie who knows well of coding, and with your knowledge on maths and statistics, you can create a machine learning algorithm. So, but if you see other areas, they are somehow linked with business knowledge.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Cool. So moving on to next slide, and for everyone was asking what things we should do and what they should know for being a data scientist. This is something which I've just pulled from Google in a hurry, but like there are various aspects of things. If you think about analyst or machine learning engineer, data engineer, data scientist. So let me first explain to you what each of the roles is. So analyst uses data to analyze using business domain knowledge what insightful thing they can come out from data and which can help in better strategy creation for the organization. Machine learning engineer is basically who is creating machine learning algorithms uh, using maths and computer science. A data engineer is someone who manages how the data should be stored, how it should be extracted, how it should be aggregated and everything. Data scientist is someone who uses the data and uses his analytics or machine learning skills to come up with something which is useful for the organization in terms of driving strategy. So each of the areas have different skill sets required. For example, everyone requires, if you see like the larger the bubble size, the more important that skill set is for each of the areas. So programming tools are important for all four. You need to know few of the tools for each of the areas. I'll cover in the next slide what tools you should know. Then data visualization and communication. So if you see data for data analysts and data scientists who work closely with the business team, it's important they visualize the data well and communicate the data well, because you work with the business teams and they should be able to understand what you are trying to say. It should not be very techy when you are going to them and presenting your work. It should come out as a story and they should be able to link it with their goals. Otherwise, your work will not be implemented. So I will explain more on that. Data intuition is something in which you have that intuition, like what the numbers and what the data should look like. That comes with experience. As and when you try to do various things, you develop that intuition that okay, whether this number is looking correct or not, whether this data is looking correct or not, how this data should look like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. So those things you learn with the course of with your experience as you see more and more things. Fourth one is statistics. I will cover for data scientist or data analyst specifically what things you should know as part of statistics. Data wrangling is about how you aggregate the data, how you pull the data and everything, which is important. Machine learning is about knowing algorithms, about what kind of algorithms should be used in which kind of situation, what's the math behind those algorithms. Software engineering is basically knowing how you will code those things, what you want to do, so that it becomes automated and can be used by click of button and not much of rerunning or manual work is required. And then last thing is you need to know calculus and linear algebra a bit for each of the areas with different importance. For example, machine learning engineer who is coding for an algorithm must know calculus and linear algebra more. Data scientists should know somewhat, but other fields are not very important. The calculus and algebra is not very important. So those are things which companies look for. I've for the next 4 slides, I've tried to combine these 8 skills into 4 skills, and I'll try to tell you what things you should do now to develop your knowledge in those areas. And the good thing about data science and ML is everything is open source. You need not have to pay for anything, and but it's just about me. What I want to do is I point you to the right things you should search for so that you gain knowledge in those areas. Because on Google, if you were a number of things, but there are few things which if you see a JD or job description of any company, what they always mention some of the things they want people to know when they are hiring. So those are things I wanted to cover in next 4 slides. So first thing on programming and data wrangling, right? So usually in most of the organizations, as part of data science or data analyst roles, most of the companies prefer people knowing one of R or Python. Python is something which is more accepted. I would not say more accepted, but yeah, more used because of the kind of packages we have in open source for Python as compared to R. And I've listed some of the packages which are used very frequently in Python by most of the organizations. So for example, if you see, right, I think most of you would have heard of TensorFlow, which is an open source framework from Google to do machine learning. And within TensorFlow, they have come up with a layer of one more package, which is called Keras, which is the K, capital K, which you are seeing on the slide, which is basically focused on deep learning.
Sorry to interrupt. I think I'm seeing your previous slide, what companies look for. Do you have a next slide which you're showing? Yeah, now it's...
Sorry. So which slide are you looking at? Is it SQL written?
Yeah, now we are looking for at the DS/DA roles.
Okay, yeah.
Slide.
So I think that's what the slide I was on. I don't know why it didn't move. But yeah, I'll repeat again. So the first aspect is about programming and knowing coding and data wrangling tools. So on the left-hand side, I've listed down different packages which are used by, which are in open source, anyone can use. And they are used for different ML algorithms. For example, TensorFlow is created by Google, which is an open source framework. And over that, there's Keras, which is used for deep learning. There's scikit-learn. There's PyTorch. I think PyTorch is from Facebook, if I'm not wrong. So different big companies have created their own open source frameworks. You can import their packages on your computer, and you can run any classification, regression, ML model, or deep learning model using these packages. Apart from that, some other packages I mentioned, which is Pandas and Numpy. So Pandas and Numpy is used mainly for aggregation of data, or how you want to break down the data or analyze the data. So they are very powerful in basically analyzing or aggregating data. So those packages are used for that. NLTK, I think, is for natural language processing. Spark is something which I don't think a lot of Spark you use when you want to use distributed frameworks when the data is so huge and you want to do parallel processing. So Spark is used. MXNet, I think, is from Apache. Yeah, but like majorly these are the big packages which most of us use. Like for example, I use mostly Pandas, NumPy, Scikit, and Keras. So like it's your own preference what you want to, whether you want to use a Google framework or a Facebook framework. But these are something which are used a lot by everyone, and they're pretty good. Like they are always up to date, and their efficiency at which they work at is pretty good. So they have the in-house ML models functions which you can use as part of these packages. Any questions on this? I guess most of you would be using it if you are doing any project or any internship in data science. Anyone has used these? If he can tell his experience about this. No one? Okay. Cool. So second thing is about data, how you want to extract data in a form which is manageable for you. And most of the companies use some kind of querying language, whether it can be a MySQL, there is Presto, there is Hive and all those things. So, but you should know some query language, any basic version of it, to be aware of how you can aggregate data and everything. So like in terms of technical know-how, I think if you have no Python and majorly these packages, and bit on if you know how to connect APIs and everything, which is usually taught in software engineering courses, and you know SQL, I think in terms of hard skills needed, in terms of technical skills needed, you should be good. So try to focus on these two areas, which is either one of R or Python. I would prefer Python, and secondly SQL, a querying language which helps you in query any data you want to. Any questions on this?
Yeah. I'm audible?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you just told us, like we can go with SQL and integrating APIs. So, there are many more DBs, you know. So, do we have to focus on a particular kind of DB that is used in the companies
No.
most?
No. I think the expectation is not to know particular kind. The expectation is that whether you know the basics or not. So if you know how to left join, right join two tables, if you know how to group things, how you sort things. So those kind of things, if you know how you rank, how you partition your data. So if you know those kind of things, I think if you think about different database sources, whether it be Redshift or whether it be uh, any other database sources, mostly the syntax and everything is mainly same. Like it's just about concept and knowing whether you know what what a querying language requires you to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to the second aspect, which is statistics. So if you recall that Venn diagram which I showed, right? Second was maths and statistics. So this is something which I feel I think there are some courses in mechanical engineering which cover these things. I don't know whether it's in masters or undergrad, but this is something which is I'll just expand it a bit so that it becomes visible. Is everyone able to see?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah. So yeah, basically this is something which again infographic I pulled from Google only, but I found it to cover most of the things which I feel is required from statistics point of view. So why statistics is important, and why this is a necessity for anyone who want to excel in this area is like you know your data, you get your data, you analyze, you build an ML model or you do anything. Where statistics come to play is like whether what you are doing is relevant or not, or what you are doing is making sense or not, or what the data you have pulled is right or not. So those kind of things are uh, are measured through different tools of statistics. So For example, like there are different types of distributions of data. So you should know like what data you are pulling, what distribution it has, so that you analyze it accordingly and you feed into an ML model accordingly. So if whether it's a normal distribution or there's a Poisson distribution or any other kind of distribution. So like, because how the data is distributed, uh, it impacts a lot of learnings you can take from those data from that data when you're analyzing it. Second aspect is, I think, for example, hypothesis testing, which is something which I studied in MBA for the first time. But hypothesis testing is something basically, if you have let's say, I say that uh, sun rises from the west, right? So that is my hypothesis. That's not a fact, right? I need to validate that hypothesis. Everyone believes sun rises from the east, and my hypothesis is sun rises from the west. So what I will do, I will keep these two hypotheses that everyone else believes sun rises from the east, but my belief is sun rises from the west. I will wake up early in the morning tomorrow and see from where the sun rises, and hence I validate it. And once I validate, the outcome would be sun rises from the east only. So my hypothesis has been rejected basically. So my hypothesis was false. The fact is sun rises from the east. So like if I have to connect it, what, for example, I'm doing at Uber, let's say I sent out a campaign of marketing to different eaters, right? In which I wanted to improve their frequency of ordering from us, let's say. My hypothesis is that my campaign will improve the frequency of ordering. But it can be a case that other alternate hypothesis can be that it doesn't impact the order frequency of an eater if you send a campaign. How I'll validate? I will send out a campaign. I will send out a campaign to a set of eaters. I will not send out a campaign to a set of eaters, and then I'll compare the performance of the two groups. So that all is called hypothesis testing, and there's like I can take a whole 2-hour lecture on this subject as well, like how to set up this experimentation, how to validate your hypothesis, and what all things you goes into it. So there are these things. For example, if you see on that on those notes, right? Null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, significance level, p-value. So like yeah, this is something which I feel everyone should know, but it's an interesting area of statistics which can be evaluated on your resume if you know already. Other things, there are a lot of things, but some things are like center limit theorem, ANOVA. Confusion metric is something which is used usually to validate your models. So precision, recall, accuracy, F1 score is used across organizations to validate the performance of your ML model, how good it is. So these are the 4 factors on which an ML model is evaluated on. Yeah. So the idea is like you should know what these terms mean. And if someone asks you what is a confusion metric or what metrics or what precision or recall is, you should be able to answer it. Got it? This is something I think. I don't know whether it's there already as part of the curriculum of engineering courses, but I know in mechanical there was something around that. But I think there's a statistics department also in AMU, so someone there as a point of contact can help. But this is a very interesting area of maths, which I feel should be looked into. Distributions and probability distribution, everything is being taught in engineering itself, but there are some aspects which are not there. Yeah. Cool. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So these particular topics in these statistics, had you followed a particular course for that in Python, or had you done that in R itself?
No, so these are not related to Python or R. Like Python or R have codes and everything for these things as well, but these are concepts or maths which goes into as part of your job that you should know. So like this is something which is the subject knowledge you should have, and Python and R can provide you codes and everything for each of them, but those codes will only be dependent on what, like codes are just a tool, right? It's about code is something not code doesn't know what it doesn't know, right? But it's the human brain that knows more than code. So for for that aspect of those aspect of things, human brain is important, and there you should know these kind of things. So you code will do what you will tell, right? But if you don't know it right, you will tell wrong to the code, and the code will perform accordingly. So being right at the start is important, and for that, this is something mathematical knowledge or statistic knowledge you should have, and that you can only do by reading. And there are some online courses I will tell later on Coursera and everywhere, which you can which you can do to learn this, but this is something which is which is independent of any technical knowledge. So, for example, a statistician might not be doing Python and R, but he would be very good in this. So, this doesn't depend on any coding language.
Okay, I got it.
So, third part was machine learning basically. So you should know basically what all kinds of big models are there, what are kind of techniques are there as part of machine learning, and what maths goes behind it. First part. Secondly, what is the usual ML building process? Any model you create, what steps you should go through? Because usually it's asked. This is asked in an interview. Let's say you, as part of your project, you created a deep learning neural network. What steps did you get through? So it should not come out that you skipped some of the steps which are necessary. And I will create just a flow diagram, but each of the steps is very detailed and requires around easily 30-40 minutes of session to explain what all you need to do in those. But if I have to just skim through it, if you see the infographic on the right, machine learning is broadly divided into three parts: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. I think most of you would be knowing. So supervised learning is where you know what target you are you are trying to predict for. You know the dependent variable. I'm trying to get into the technical things, technical jargons, but just think about it like, for example, if you want to predict who will default on the loan, you know from the history who defaulted and who didn't default. So those all kind of models fall in supervised learning. Unsupervised learning is something where you don't know what to predict, but it's mainly about clustering, like segmenting data into different subsegments or dimensionality reduction. Third part is reinforcement learning, in which basically the output or the error component feeds back as an input, and the model by itself keeps on learning it. This is like if you had played game of chess online, right? I think reinforcement learning is something which is being used there. I am forgetting. I think AlphaGo is something which uses reinforcement learning only. The chess game which Google made. I think it's a chess game. I need to correct on that, but there's a game which Google made. But yeah, the concept behind that is reinforcement learning. So, but I think reinforcement learning is something which is not expected a lot, but you should know supervised and unsupervised learning specifically, and what all kind of things models fall in supervised. So, for example, supervised learning models can be a random forest, a decision tree, a gradient boosting machine, a support vector machine. So those kind of things goes in supervised learning. Unsupervised learning are any clustering algorithm, principal component analysis. So those kind of things go into unsupervised learning. But there's a long list of algorithms. Each one you can map to one of the areas, and that helps you in understanding what kind of algorithm can be used in what kind of scenario and what kind of problem you're trying to solve for. I think second aspect is about how, once you know the algorithm, how you will use it, whether the way in which you use it correct or not. Is it just you are dumping data into it and into the black box and just getting the output, or you are doing some initial steps so that the model performance enhances by the different steps you go through. So, for example, usually when a model is being built, a machine learning model is being built, you start with a business problem or objective you want to solve for. That objective should be meaningful. That objective should meet any business goal in terms of incremental revenue or incremental profit you want to generate. And once you decide on that objective, you want to solve for this problem, you try to collect all the data and everything which can help in predicting and solving that problem. You clean that data, then you basically look at the data, analyze the data, use stats and everything, how the distribution looks like and everything. Then you do feature engineering, in which you extract important variables, important features, important ways in which you can create features that can be powerful for the model. And then you finally feed it into the machine learning model, and then you validate the performance of the model. So those are all the steps which any machine learning model goes through, and each of the step is in itself a lot of maths and science. So for example, feature engineering and feature selection is itself a big exercise in which you engineer a lot of features in different ways. Plus, you need to decide what feature. So for example, if you engineer, let's say 20,000 or 15,000 features, for example, in performance marketing, when we used to work on 10,000 or 15,000 features, which is huge. So an ML model cannot handle that much of data. You need to have ways on which you can some math, some science which goes into it that can help in finding you which features are important. Uh, uh, like there are different techniques. There's something called as information value and all. And you try to stack rank the features that are important for the objective you're trying to solve for, and then you feed into the model. So like each of the step is a very detailed process in itself. But overall, you should know what all are the different steps and what all goes into these steps. Cool. I think I have 8 minutes remaining. I'll move to the next slide. Sorry. Yeah, I think the last part is somewhat tricky, which is more of soft skills. And I will tell you how companies trying to judge you on that. One is data intuition, second is business acumen, and communication skills. So on data intuition, it's more about how good are you with numbers, right? Like how good are you with with your numbers? Like, is it like, do you do a lot of maths in your brain itself and you come up with numbers very quickly? So usually what companies do is either they give you a puzzle which requires some numbers, which requires you to do some maths, or they give you guess estimates. So I think if a lot of you don't know guess estimate, what guess estimate is, basically they give you a problem, one-liner problem, and you need to estimate a number on that. For example, I'm just putting a situation. Let's say there's a delivery person who is working for Swiggy. The question that an interviewer will ask you is one-line statement. What is the expected per day earnings for that delivery person? And you have no other number, you have no other information, and you have to guess that. You have to estimate that. And what the interviewer looks for is, like, firstly, how close your estimate is. And secondly, what was your logical reasoning for your estimate? So for example, I'll just quickly walk through like this particular problem, that how you need to solve it. For example, if someone asks you how much a Swiggy person earns on a daily basis, I will start with an assumption. Usually a delivery person will work for 8 hours. Delivery person is someone who is picking the courier from the restaurant, the packet from the restaurant, and dropping to your place. So he works for 8 hours. So if he's working for 8 hours, usually it takes 30-40 minutes for him to deliver one order. So if he's taking around 35 minutes, let's say, to deliver one order, on an average, in 2 hours, he will be able to deliver 3 orders, assuming that he's not always on the trip, right? So there are 3 orders, and if you multiply by for 2 hours, then for 8 hours, there are 12 orders. Usually people order for 200 rupees, and we give a 30% commission to the courier partner for his services. So 200 into 30%. So per order, he will be making 60 rupees. 60 into 12 is 720 rupees. So every day he's earning around 700 rupees from us. And that's the estimate. So that's how you arrive at the final estimate. It requires a lot of intuition and awareness about things around you. And, like, for example, what population your city is, what are the number of restaurants in your area. So those kind of things can also go into as an input, but this is just a rough idea of how to approach these kind of problems. There's a big PDF book which I can also share if anyone needs on this guess estimate, and they can, just for practice purposes, they can use it. But that the kind of guess estimates people give, the companies give, is always linked to the business model mostly. Uh, Sometimes it can be off for consulting firms, but so for that you should have that business acumen, that you know the company you are interviewing for, what business model that company is in, how the profits and losses profits and revenues being generated for that company, and there the business acumen as an input goes in, and then finally your communication skills. So when you are walking you through your story, or when you are answering to the questions, it should not come out it to be a viva voce, rather it to be an interview. So difference between viva voce and interview is, in viva voce you ask a question, you answer it, that's it. It's a pretty straightforward thing. So but when you are in interview, is more of a conversation in which you are trying to show the interviewee that how you are a fit for that role, and for that you need to create your the communication should be in the form of a story, that okay, you did this, which is linked to this, which lead you to do this, and hence your the output was something else. So like it's a connection of different data points in which you need to work. Usually, like when I answer is, like you start with understanding what the problem that person is asking, then you try to ask questions from that person, if anything more can be extracted. You try to list all the different things you can do for answering that questions, and then you finally arrive what's the right way to answer it. If I just jump from the interviewer asking that question, just jump from the end stage, interviewer will not feel a lot interested, and it will be like just closing the loop quite quickly. So the conversation should be such that you create a story out of it, and that these three things is something which you can learn either through having more of exposures through different internships, going for different internship and seeing how the companies work, how they interact among themselves, and secondly, reading a lot of articles about different companies. So that's how you build your knowledge base on these things. But this is something, because when I am part of different interviews, this is something which is which I feel is usually a gap between one person who goes through that interview round and the person who doesn't go through. So things like Python, things like stats, everyone can learn, but what differentiate one from the person who is selected and who is not is most of the time things like data intuition, business acumen, communication skills. So yeah, so trying to wrap up things so that everyone can ask questions at the end. So like various ways you can have some pointers on your resume around data science. You can do internships. You can do your final year project with some professor who is working in that area, and use these kind of things. And good thing about data science and machine learning is it's like you can use an ML model for a mechanical engineering problem, as well as electrical engineering problem, as well as electronics, or as well as computer engineering problem. That's the fun part of it. And you can do courses online. I will share some of the courses which are quite good on Coursera in the next slides. You can do certifications. If your project work is so good, if you convert it to a research paper and that comes on your profile, I think companies like Amazon and Google usually like that or not. So yeah, so these are the different areas on which you can work on to bring pointers on your resume. Because if you have the knowledge but things are not on your resume, getting shortlist will be tricky. So it's at the end of the day, you submit a resume to the company, and the resume is screened by the interviewer. And if you don't have things which are related to the kind of role you are considered for, you might not get the shortlist. So yeah, so like some of the things you can work on, that those are like 4 or 5 areas which can bring some points on your resume. These are some of the online courses on the left which are famous. Like for Python, there's one from University of Michigan. For statistics and probability, there's something on Khan Academy, which is on YouTube. There's majorly it's from Coursera, linear algebra for ML, calculus for ML, Yeah, like go to Coursera once and just search machine learning and data science. You'll find a bunch of courses, but these are some of the courses which are from some reputed universities and reputed profs there, and those can be good. On the right, if you see, there are various online competitions are also happening that can give you an exposure to how problems are solved. Courses usually doesn't provide you that exposure, the hands-on experience. There are some courses there will be assignments as well, but I think if you get a real-life problem to solve for through online competition, there's a famous website called Kaggle. I think many of you will be aware of. I think most of the major data scientists, big data scientists across the world, join those competitions and try to crack it. If you want to start from small, there's an Indian version of that. I would not say it's that good, but there's a website called Analytics Vidya in India, which is which is always running some hackathons which you can solve for. In fact, some companies also run their hackathons on them, and if you win that, you get a pre-placement offer as well. So I know some of the companies who do run on Analytics Vidya. So do try to search this on Google, and you will find this. If you want to do a master's in this, I think some of the top courses are from MIT Sloan. Like these are full-time courses, Imperial College of Business. But there's one course in India which has worldwide rank of 14, and it's quite good. I know one person from, I think, 2017 batch from AMU, who is currently in first year or second year of this course. And I work with some of the folks from this who have done this course, and the placements are pretty good, and the exposure you get is pretty good. So it's a tie-up between IIT KGP, IIM Kolkata, and Indian Statistical Institute. So it's a 2-year course. Every 6 months you do. So first 6 months you do in one college. Second 6 months you move to maybe IIT KGP, and then the next 6 months you move to Indian Statistical Institute. I don't know the chronology what it is. And the last 6 months you do an internship with a company, and most of the companies, if you do good work, give you an offer there itself. So that's the structure of this course. Quite good in terms of corporate exposure that they are able to get, but the seats are quite limited. What I know, they have their own written test, and you need to go through the whole process of selection. So, but this course is something which I would like to call out if someone wants to do in this postgraduate in this area from India itself. I think that's it. So I will start with Harshit because he asked one question. Harshit, was I able to answer your question or not?
So I understood a bit regarding the ML and the PSA part in the third slide itself, where you explain the models and where to use them.
Okay.
But the question again lies that does it become mandatory for starting the basic that that you have to learn ML, the basic things, no, but you have to learn the DSA part for that.
Look, basically, what do you mean by mandatory?
Mandatory in the sense that doing the least in ML, you need to go for the DSA.
No, so if you don't want to do ML, right, the kind of roles which are there, which does not require ML, and I mentioned that those are data analyst or business analyst kind of roles. Yes, so if you just want to be good in analytics and statistics and analyzing the data and presenting story and coming up with insights, there are business analyst kind of roles in different companies. But if you want to, if you add to all that the aspect of machine learning as well, then those roles are called data science roles.
No, so the question is actually that do we need to learn DSA first before ML?
What was the first thing? VSF.
DSA, data structures and algorithms.
Oh, okay. Data structures and algorithms. I don't think so. Like ML is not somewhat related to. Like I haven't faced a situation where I feel that. So personally, I don't know DSA. Okay, that's why I was asking. So if I have to answer my experience, I haven't come across a situation during my experience that I don't know DSA, so I don't know ML well. But ML is more about maths and science behind creating automated processes, how you can extract learning from the data and use it for better future. I'm not sure like if like algorithms, because I'm not a computer engineering student. So what all things come in algorithm? Can you just list them down so that I
Yes.
can match it with machine learning?
Okay. The algorithms and data structures are basically used to optimize the codes that we write in ML. That's all I know about DSA since I read a few articles upon it.
Okay. No, so I think so.
Safdar, let
If
me
you,
take this one.
yeah, if you,
So, yeah, so Harshit, I think DSA is a basic C course, programming course. Because
yeah,
it's part of curriculum, it's a very nice thing to have for all branches. You need it for some degree of programming. You will always use some kind of a data structure. You'll always use some kind of an algorithm. So you don't need to get into the depths of it if you are not from CS or electronics, or if you don't want to go into some programming stuff. But you will always use some or the other data structures in all your programming. So it's a nice skill to have.
yeah,
And what Safdar has been highlighting, so he's an example where he has come from an electrical background, and he has moved into data science and analytics. So
yeah,
you may not require a deep learning of that subject. An overview is always nice because it's a very important thing in your placements whenever you
yeah.
go for placements. So it's a
Okay.
nice skill
Yeah,
to have.
and if I have to answer your question, Harshit, like if you want to be a machine learning engineer, right, and not a data scientist, I
Okay.
think if you want to be a machine learning engineer, that's a necessary skill to have. If you want to be a software engineer, that's a necessary skill to have. I don't think being a for to be a data scientist, you need that skill.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's helpful for me.
Yeah. So if I'm able to understand what DSA is, basically it requires you to code well in an optimal way. For that, I think you need to you need to be good at that if you are doing any software engineering or you are a machine learning engineer. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? We'll take one more question because we are already 7 minutes above the time. So Milan has a question. To land a job as a fresher, how much hands-on experience do we need to have?
As
So I
much as
think
you can get.
yeah.
So yeah, like do projects, do internships which are relevant, right? So I know like a lot of companies float the internship, but when you go there, it's more about creating reports and everything. So reporting is a bit different from like although data scientists also create report, but just reporting work doesn't give exposure. So I will tell you like when I worked with some folks from IIT and everywhere, what they usually do starting from I think by the end of their second years, they start sending mails across different universities to profs who have been working in this area or their research interest is like that. And if some prof replies back, they get a chance to do internship there. So I think that's something which is very good where you will get good, and usually those profs have government funded or some corporate funded project with them, and there you work with that professor. Uh, Two advantages. One is you get corporate exposure as well as you get a good learning experience in terms of technical know-how you want to bring. Uh, and I don't know like whether you guys do that. I never did that. I was not aware of that when I was in engineering that people do that. So, but once you go to different websites, I would not say start from MIT, Sloan, and everywhere. But even if you get a project opportunity from a university in US or internship opportunity from a university in US, which is 25th rank or 30th rank, I think that will be good. How to tackle things? Can you? I missed that question. Sorry. There was one question. How to go back to chat? I don't know.
Lots of companies ask to mail resumes or register somewhere, but large number of them never revert back.
Yeah.
How to tackle this situation to become aware of things we are lacking?
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, that no matter how much you have, if your resume is not the right representation of what you know, uh, like you will not get the shortlist. So uh, that's where things like internships and projects matter a lot. That you stand out among a pool of, let's say, 1,000 people who have joined, who have applied for. Not everyone get a chance to. The companies don't have that bandwidth to take 1,000 interviews. They usually, from 1,000 resumes, they shortlist, let's say, 20 or 50, and they interview those 50 people. So if you want to fall in those 50 uh, candidates, you need to have those things on your resume. Once you reach that interview round, then it's up to you how you show your knowledge. But before that, it's like whether how well you are able to show knowledge on the resume. So I think that's where the gap is. Uh, I can even take a session on how to create a better resume if you are applying for analytics role and all. That that can be helpful. But yeah, that's very important to have. And try to add cover letter, and so cover letter shows how what work you have done in detail and how it matches with with the job you are trying to apply for. So all those things are important.
Okay, so I think we are at the end of time. So further questions, I think you can direct through either Apoorv or Rajneesh or anybody from the volunteer team. One announcement is the next session will be on 6th of November, which will be on 5G and wireless. So we started this as a pilot program for this semester. So this was the 5th talk right now. And we will be having every first and third Saturdays. Because yesterday was Thursday day, we had it on Sunday. Otherwise, every first and third Saturday of the month we'll have for this session. Post that, we want your interest to show up. If you have any sessions you want to take up or you want us to take up, you will need to come through the volunteers and we'll then arrange. So we'll have it for this session, we have it planned. But we would like more interest from you on the topics you want covered, and we'll take it based on that. And I would like to thank Safdar for taking out time, preparing for this session and delivering it. Quite a few alumni also. I thought I saw more than 7-8 alumni here and at least 2 teachers from the college. Thanks for attending. Students also, thank you very much for attending. Do fill up the feedback form. Mention the things that you would like covered, the format you would like it covered in, and we'll probably take it up. Thanks, Avda. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And thanks,
Bye-bye.
volunteers, for bringing this together, preparing the posters, and all your work on to bring this together. Do share the recording and do share a mailer regarding the same. Thank you.